what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What is happening? Sunday night. You're here for the tunes, yeah? Happy days to the upside, my friend. Very interesting movement in Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, what's happening, Bobby? What's good, man? Good evening, guys. What is good? I hope everyone is doing well. It's that Sunday night update. How you doing, Helen? You know what? We have to have breaks from trading, man. There has to be times to disconnect, because then you come back to the charts and then you are fueled with this fire inside of you just to get ready to just take on the treachery of Mr. Market Maker. Whether you believe he exists or not, ladies and gentlemen, it's the business model. You can't change it. I'm sorry. You know, I had the good old days. You know how it is. Tanya, how you doing? Aloha, Motorolist. Man, people, YouTube names, you make them difficult to say, man. Happy Father's Day to all my people around the world, man. All the dads out there, happy Father's Day to all of you, man. Love to you and yours. Mad love and respect. Strategic, how you doing, my bro? Wicked, wicked, wicked. All right, then. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are passing through, be sure to share the stream. Let's get the love pattern watchers out there. Let's start this pattern watchers movement. You know how it is. You know what? Sorry, so to switch between short and long mindset, yes, it is very difficult, which is why day trading is deemed as one of the most difficult endeavors when it comes to trading itself. To switch, in other words, to not have a bias. All right, that's the main thing. Never have a bias, because then you are always prepared for the unknown. Okay, once you are fixated on a direction, that's it. You will never close a short. You will never close your long when it's screaming at you to change direction. The saying goes, good traders cut their losses, great traders change direction. And that's what it's all it is, man. That's all it is. Mini Market Maker still under the weather, but she's all good. Ladies and gentlemen, mad love for asking and showing your love. Thank you very much. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll with it tonight. Let's have a conversation. Let's start breaking down what we need to be aware of this week, going into cryptocurrency, going into the markets itself. But more importantly, we have a US holiday tomorrow. So we are down a pool of liquidity. So expect volatility to be high. All right. The UK session will have free roam of the US markets. All right. Remember, the US session, Juneteenth, I believe it is a holiday tomorrow. So the US session Monday will not be open. All right. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this Sunday night update arranged for you so you guys can continue to spend time with your families. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a conversation. Okay. So in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, you can see Bitcoin has made a nice little move to the upside. Does it mean it's now all time to get in? All systems go, Bitcoin to the moon. You're probably going to see it being pushed around YouTube and social media. Bitcoin's flying up now. Now's the time to take advantage. Proceed with caution. And you know what? Most of you are probably thinking, yeah, I knew he was going to say that. Well, guess what? If you go in blind with the narrative, you will be surprised. Okay, if price does go against you, and you will be fixated on the idea that it has to keep going up because it's been going down for so long. We look for certain things to happen in the charts, ladies and gentlemen, and the clues are by Mr. Market Maker and his footprint. We understand certain concepts, so if you've been with me for a while, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So let's roll on to the charts right now. Let's get rid of all these levels that I've had before. Happy days. Let's expand the chart and let's make sense of what's going on. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, there's something that I want to roll over to you to help you understand where we are psychologically in the charts. Okay, you roll onto the daily time frame and you can see Bitcoin, regardless of what anybody says right now, Bitcoin is trading at a phenomenal low. Okay, this was last year, not so long ago. Bitcoin's high, where was it? Over here. It breached this point, the 20K point, which instigated a big sell-off from that point, which led us into a very interesting time of capitulation. We are now in capitulation zones, ladies and gentlemen. So if I roll over to the Bitcoin unrealized chart right here, this is something that I would like you to take with a pinch of salt. But in order to make sense of uncertainty, all you can do is rely on what has happened beforehand and use that to help you understand what they're likely to do next. The game is all about probabilities. So this was the last capitulation point from Bitcoin, okay? From the high of 10K, it went all the way down, and that was back in February 2020. And it came all the way down towards the 4,860 mark, all right? Now, the start of capitulation started on March the 11th, 2020. Now, stick with me on this one. This capitulation period lasted until roughly the 18th, 19th of March. So for 8 days straight, traders' mindsets were of the capitulation state of mind. Why? Because they had just given up. They thought, that's it, enough is enough. I am done with this. I'm not going to make back my gains. I need to cut my losses and get out. Now, a few moments ago, I said to you, good traders cut their losses and great traders change direction, okay? What if you're not in that position to change direction? What if you're in a situation where you've actually lost a lot of your capital because you've been holding Bitcoin? Now, this is something that is common across the board, guys. And we're not going to shy away from the fact that a lot of people have accumulated quite a few losses, all right? Those of you that are running the shorts on Bitcoin, happy days. But do not be complacent, because the market does have a great way of humbling everyone, and it will always humble people. Never think you can be humbled by the market, because you can. If the market is making you think twice about something and then you are not acting on that thought, you're preparing yourself for to be humbled by the market. Try your hardest to get that lesson of being humbled as cheap as possible. Okay? Humbling doesn't necessarily mean that you lose money. Okay? Humbling can also mean that you could be in a really profitable trade and then you end up closing that trade still at a win, but you would have left a lot of money on the table. That's not what we are here for. I will always go by the mantra, pay yourselves, pay yourselves, pay yourselves. Remind yourselves at the start of your trading sessions, pay yourselves. If you are a holder of cryptocurrency and you have yourself an asset that has grown exponentially and you are seeing gains in your account, take the money, move to another coin, see if you can replicate it because that coin's had its day. Move to the next coin. You're still in cryptocurrency. Do not be married to an asset. If you're a Bitcoin holder and you've managed to buy Bitcoin at 17K, for example, and now that's shot up to 20K, would you not be in a good position right now? Of course you would. So pay yourself. There's still a lot of work for Bitcoin to do, ladies and gentlemen. Just because it's gone from 17 to 20 doesn't mean it's going to go from 20 to 50,000. No. There's always going to be a retrace. There's always going to be a continuation. These are the hard truths of trading itself, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. There's nothing more I can say to you. I promise you, you will see price make a move up, to retrace down, to go back up again, to come back down again. Where are you going to be? To sit through the psychology of price going up and down, and you are leaving money on the table, tempted to close, you hold on to it, it moves up again, and you're like, wow, that was a good call, man. I was going to sell at that point, and now it's up here, and now you're saying, right, it's going to continue higher, and then it comes back down to the same point that you were beforehand, where you were feeling reluctant to close. You end up closing it here. It doesn't make sense. But guys, this is the hardest, easiest way to make money. That's the promise. And this is the situation that a lot of people are in. Now, moving forward, we need to dive into what we can expect from Bitcoin moving forward. As I said to you, capitulation last time lasted for 9 days. Okay? Where we are right now, ladies and gentlemen, is until this gets updated tonight, the move back up today will be updated, okay, very shortly. And it may show capitulation line right here moving up. But it may still be in capitulation. So for the next 8 to 9 days, this is no truth. I'm just going by what had happened at the last capitulation point. Because if you look at the last capitulation points in history of Bitcoin, okay, you can see that they lasted quite a long time. This one over here started on September the 20th, and then they came back into it January All right. No, sorry, December 31st. Okay. So it lasted a long time. Then this point right here, it went from December 28th and then it took until October 2015. So December 2014 to October 2015, we were in a capitulated state. Traders were still cutting their losses. They just couldn't handle it. But Bitcoin was just trading sideways at the $200-300 mark. Then at this point right here, you can see that they went from November 20th, 2018. It took them March 30th, 2019 to get out of capitulation. But as Bitcoin's price increased, the capitulation period started to last so much more less. Look at this one, March the 9th, all the way to the 18th, 19th. So just shy of 8-9 days of capitulation before Bitcoin continued and made the all-time high of around 60, 69, 68. This is where we are right now. How long will this capitulation last for? Well, what we've got to understand, at these times of Bitcoin and over here, we didn't really have the same amount of liquidity coming into cryptocurrency. It was only around in the 2019 towards the 2020 mark is when we started seeing the big money coming into cryptocurrency. So if they're going to break Bitcoin and send it down even lower, ladies and gentlemen, then we might have a little bit of a longer period of capitulation. But the last time they did it, they moved aggressively from that point, and then they went all the way up to 67K. Is that the assumption right now, that Bitcoin from this point is going to last for a few days in capitulation until traders give up on the idea of Bitcoin going up, until they've got enough people of the impression that Bitcoin can't go up, which is where they're going to start stepping in and moving Bitcoin up to the upside? Well, we need to go over to Bitcoin on the day trades to understand exactly what that is. Looking at it from a daily perspective, Bitcoin is away from the moving averages. It's just free roaming the charts. There are no moving averages for them to come to. The only closest moving average that Bitcoin can make its way towards is the 5 EMA. All right? That ain't no big moving average. That's nothing. We want the 50 EMA. You see, this zone right here, ladies and gentlemen, if Bitcoin can come back up into this point, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin is now getting ready to go higher. It could drop back down from that point. But the first point of interest that you must be aware of is this red vector candle. And we say it all the time to all the patrons in the channel. Remember this. Red vector candle. Stopping volume candle. Violet vector candle fails to close at the lowest point in the chart, which is an indication when a vector candle that is violet appears. It tells you that volume is starting to increase. Okay? But you want to see this violet vector candle appearing at the highs, because then they're preparing to start selling off. But when you see it at the lows and you've already had an extended move to the downside, it could also imply that volume or the pressure to move price down lower is starting to slow down. Which is why now we've had this nice little recovery, and it's a sharp recovery back up. So the zones you must be aware of, ladies and gentlemen, are these vector candle points in the chart. This is where it's going to get interesting. Now, the chart is obviously showing a lot of short liquidations in the zones. I'm going to be doing a video tomorrow just to update you on that, because Sunday night price action is just the markets absorbing what's ever happened over the weekend. Let's go into the smaller time frames on Bitcoin to understand what is actually happening. We've got Bitcoin coming up against the 5 and 13 EMA. Nice crossover of the 5 and 13 EMA. We still have the 50 EMA as a point of interest, which they could initiate a sell from. So if Monday's move leads price higher, just be mindful that there may be a little bit of resistance at this point. When you go down to lower time frames, you'll start to see vector candles printing themselves right here, which are points of interest when Mr. Market Maker had previously opened longs on the way down. If you are new to the channel and you're trying to say, hold on a second, why is he opening longs on the way down? Well, this is the business model, ladies and gentlemen. For all my guys who've been with me from day one, here's a little bit of a refresher. Here's Mr. Retail Trader. Here's Binance. And here's the market maker. All right? Retail trader comes in and says, yo, Binance, I want to open an order of $100 worth of Bitcoin on a 100x trade. He pings that over to Binance. Binance then pings that over to the market maker. Mr. Market Maker, he's not just going to give him the $100 long. because he wants to be able to profit on his trade. Likewise, the retail trader wants to profit on his trade. So Mr. Market Maker pings back the same order, but against him, so that he matches his liquidity against the retail trader's liquidity. What do you think trading is? It's a zero-sum game. One man's fun is another's hell. So when the chart moves up and Bitcoin goes in favor for the retail trader is in $100 profit. Mr. Market Maker is in $100 loss. The retail trader has a decision. Does he close the trade? He takes that liquidity. Because when you're in $100 profit, you're taking Mr. Market Maker's liquidity. When you're in $100 loss, you're giving the market maker your liquidity. But more importantly, down here is your liquidation. So Mr. Market Maker is going to try and trap as many retail traders long so that he can get as many shorts filled at the highest possible point, and then he will roll price over because retail traders do not pay themselves. They just think that every time price moves up, they're going to keep moving up. When you approach the game of trading with a gambler's mentality, you will only be focused on how much you can make as opposed to how much you can lose. That's the hard truth of it all. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin's behavior over this weekend has been quite good. Hasn't done anything astronomical. Still got a lot of legwork to get through. The problem that we've got, ladies and gentlemen, is this. The S&P. Now that the Fed has actually approached their tightening quite aggressively with their hawkish nature, the problem that we have now is this. Credit risk. So the cost of business now has increased. The cost of borrowing has now increased. So what if this actually starts a problem around the world, especially in the US? What if people start defaulting on payments? That's just going to lead another move to the downside. Okay? That's going to be a bit of an issue. Because where we would anticipate the market bottoming out, where we would want price to move up, we're still going to have other issues that we need to deal with. So the idea of recession, the idea of inflation still around. Now, I read an article not so long ago talking about on the next run up, which may be within months, the Nasdaq and the S&P is looking to end up at the 6K mark. Well, let's just look at this, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to help us understand Bitcoin's behavior. All right. Purely on the principle of the vector candles in the hybrid system. This is a vector point they could come back to. This is a vector point they can come back to. And this is a vector point that they can come back to. All right. These are points where they are selling off. But really what's happening is they're buying up. No one in the stock market, and I'm talking the heavyweights, are buying when price is rising. They buy when it consolidates. And then when the word gets out that there's movement in the stock, people start going in and then they start selling into those traders. They buy at the lowest point. They buy in capitulated zones. They do not buy when there is climax and everyone's excited about a stock. Okay? This is called a reset. This is them taking their profits on the previous move to the upside. All right? Now, S&P at 6,000. That will take us to this point up here. What does that mean for Bitcoin? Yeah? Well, let's just look at the logic right now. Split the chart in two. Okay? Let's put Bitcoin on the left, on the daily, and zoom out. And then we've got the S&P. All right? Here we go. This is going to help you understand people's psychology in the markets. All right? So back when the S&P topped out, okay? Bitcoin started to drop down first before the S&P, all right? And Bitcoin was here when the S&P topped out, all right? So is Bitcoin a leading indicator of people's sentiment? Could we use it? Now, when you see Bitcoin's price action, the run-up from the S&P with Bitcoin's run-up, you can see even when Bitcoin dropped down aggressively, the S&P didn't really correct that long, which was in this area here. All right. But Bitcoin did. So they were accumulating more Bitcoin. The narrative was everything was moving up. So you can see Bitcoin came back up again. And so did the S&P. Now that Bitcoin has now followed the S&P's movement to the downside. OK, we're at a point where it's a reset. Is Bitcoin going to move up first and the S&P is going to follow suit? Mate, what is going on with my words tonight? getting my words all mixed up. This is what we need to do. This is what you would call, in principle, top-down analysis. When you're looking at higher timeframes to make sense of the narrative, okay? Remember, they're increasing interest rates. So that means it's going to cost more to pay for credit cards, for mortgages, rents, and that's going to have a repercussion. That's why the Fed, Powell, he's being scrutinized with his aggressiveness on raising the interest rates. With the next meeting on the 26th of July, where he's looking to do another 75 basis points. That's going to squeeze everyone. The only sector out there that's going to be winning is the banking sector, because they're just going to be making them more money. Higher interest rates, more money for the banks. So we know that banking stocks are going to be killing it in the next few months or so. What's the repercussion of that across the board? Now, if the cost of finance is going up, ideally we want to be waiting for the cost of oil to drop down, because it has to balance out. If oil does drop down next week, then that means it doesn't cost that much money to do business. Say, for example, in terms of traveling. The average dude, Mr. 50K a year, he doesn't have to worry about the cost of fuel now. So he's going to have a little bit more change on the side where he can then speculate and start putting it into Bitcoin, into other assets. Okay? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the dollar index still being a pain in the back, and it's still rising up. Once the idea of inflation and recession has been fully absorbed in the charts and they've moved dollar index as far as they physically can, and we start seeing it topping off, then we're going to start seeing the risk being put back on, dollar dominance starts to drop, and then we start seeing assets against the US dollar moving up. You see, I want gold to move up, because if gold doesn't move up, ladies and gentlemen, then we're not going to get the idea that traders are concerned about something. Then that means that assets against the US dollar are not going to go up if traders don't run to gold. They want it as a store of value. Now, this is the underlying question. Where is Bitcoin going to end up in all of this? What is Bitcoin going to do? And look, we've spoken about the S&P. We've spoken about so many other things in relation to Bitcoin's price action. Ultimately, guys, if you have a system that you use every single day, you just need to say to yourself, okay, what from that system can I use to exploit price action? If I'm on the 1 hour time frame, what am I looking for? What can I see right here? I can see green vector candles appearing. We've got a little zone down here. Bitcoin's just trailing upwards. It might be a drift upwards, ladies and gentlemen. So just be mindful. When you see this price action right here, people are going to be receptive to this idea. And then they're going to start thinking, that's it now, the bottom is in. Remember, we do have a lot of shorts that are in the chart. The liquidity is going to be present for Mr. Market Maker to eat. He's not going to shake them out at speed. He's going to keep them committed for as long as they physically can. The more vector candles that we see down at the lows and they do not recover them, the more of a problem that we're going to have, because they're likely to come back into them because the narrative of the markets going lower is still present. Remember, we are still in capitulation. How long can we be in capitulation for is on the idea that we kill the idea that we are no longer in capitulation and that people are starting to favor risk and then start putting it into assets like Bitcoin. Okay? Let me just check this out. Some macro analysts say 150 yen. Well, listen, even the yen right now, they've also declared that they're not actually increasing the interest rates, even though the yen is that weak. There's something going on right there. The fact that dollar yen is just sitting at 134, okay? What's going to happen is simple. Dollar yen will probably come back down to recover these wicks, these green and blue vector candles right here, and then come straight back up again. They did it right here. These are profit-taking opportunities, okay? They'll shift it back up again. And then if dollar yen's rising up, then we're going to see that pressure being put on Euro USD. Now, Euro USD has formed a nice little pattern right here, which could come up to retrace continuation. Happy days. But the problem that we've got is the dollar index. As long as the dollar index maintains its strength, Bitcoin ain't going nowhere, ladies and gentlemen. It's funny that Bitcoin always moves like this over the weekends because all the rest of the markets are closed. Well, tonight, the Dow Jones futures opens, okay, followed by the S&P and the NASDAQ, all right? So once the NASDAQ and the S&P futures open, that's going to dictate to us what we can expect moving forward from next week, given that we do have a holiday tomorrow, okay? June 10th holiday, all right? But other exchanges around the world will be open, okay? Now, there's been a lot of stuff going off about Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen, in the media, which is designed to make people think something so that they can react to it. Okay? Bitcoin hitting that fresh 18-month low, man. Since December 2017. It's been very interesting price action. All right? A lot of people have been picking up Bitcoin at wild prices, like dollar cost averaging in at 50K, 40K, 30K. You just got to be very careful with this. All right? And this is what they do call the crypto winter. I love it when they say that. Crypto winter. It's just a standard procedure in the marketplace, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, this is really important, okay? If the S&P 500 is going to start moving up, and for any of my stock guys, how many of you are like stock heavy? Does anybody trade stocks in here? Please let me know. Is anybody in the chat trade stocks? Tino, should I pay myself? That's a question you've answered already, my friend. How many of you trade stocks? What do I think will the bottom be? What do I think will be Bitcoin's bottom? All right then, because this is the question, all right? And I'll answer it right now. Let me just get rid of all of this stuff right here. Bitcoin's bottom. So when's Bitcoin going to fall on its ass, as they would say? All right then, cool. Look at this. To establish a bottom, right, it's kind of difficult to say, right, this is going to be the low. Because what perspective are you basing it on? Are you basing it on economically? Are you basing it on technically? Technically, yes, the chart is aggressively to the downsides, okay? It's horrible. Now, Bitcoin down at these points, happy days, man. Happy days to the people that have been waiting for Bitcoin to get to a point which they could actually pick it up for. Bitcoin is still expensive, bruv. 20,400 for a coin. That's still expensive. People are expecting Bitcoin to bleed out to the 10s and the 8s and the 9s. Okay, fine. We'll trade it. Remember, I'm a day trader. I seek movement. But I know that the business model will always stay the same. The aggressive move down will lead an aggressive move back up. Now look left in the chart, purely on the principle of the hybrid. How many vector candles do we have left? Well, they've been eating this liquidity right here, ladies and gentlemen, and the options expiry that happened on the 18th probably led and fueled that move. Now we're coming into two very important zones in the chart of Bitcoin, which will then take us towards the 16288 point, and of course this point right here at 17572. The final vector in the chart. Well, two final vector points in the chart, three even. Right here. This zone right here. And then finally, this point right here. Now, if Mr. Market Maker comes down even down towards this point right here, boy, he's taken no prisoners, ladies and gentlemen. Then it will be a crypto summer, because those shorts that are not paying themselves, you see, that's the problem. When you're in a short and it keeps on going in your favor and it just keeps on dropping and dropping and dropping, you get to the point where you then say to yourself, it's an actual insult to actually close it. Who are you? How dare you close your short? That's what frame of mind you get in. Then when it starts going against you, you dismiss it. Then it moves up against your position. So hypothetically, if you were in a short from Bitcoin at 48, okay, there would have been only two instances where you would have said, okay, it might actually try and come back up maybe. I've got to be aware of this, all right? Maybe this point right here, and then, of course, this zone right here. Now, if that's on the basis that you've opened a short from this point and you haven't added to your position, in other words, moved your position down alongside price, okay? But let's make the assumption that you think it's an insult to close your short. So when Bitcoin moves up slightly from here and recovers this red vector candle, you're going to start thinking, okay, I might not like this. What if it actually comes back up into this point? I've been adding positions to here. My position itself has been moved to this point right here. What do I do? I'm just going to wait. It's going to hit the 50 EMA and bounce away from it. You then dismiss the chart. You then come back the next day and you see that price is coming close towards the 50 EMA. Then you start doing your research and check what the markets are feeling like. Then you start feeling a little bit concerned. You start taking a little bit of profit, but you keep most of your position on. Then what happens? You then see Bitcoin break through that 50 EMA, spike up, and now it's just tapped your entry point because you've been scaling into it. Why have you held it that long? Remember, whenever you see price move aggressively in your favor and you are in a trade, unless your short has been opened all the way from this point right here at 68, you really have nothing to worry about price. And it's going to take a long time for Bitcoin to move back up towards that point. All right? You've got to remember how much money has left cryptocurrency. Look, we're at 877 billion. This was a $3 trillion marketplace not so long ago. All right? Phenomenal. $2.2 trillion. Ciao, ciao. See you later. Gone. Where's that money gone? Yeah? The same way that money has left Bitcoin opens it for another opportunity for it to come back into it. Because the same spot that that money started coming in is the same spot that we are at right now. Now, of course, remember what I said to you. The markets are now going to have the issue of credit risk. There's going to be a concern about the cost of doing business. More is going to have to be paid to mortgages, rents, credit cards. That's going to have a colossal effect on the economy, which will likely then tell people that we're going to be going into a recession. So we'll have to factor that in. So whatever Bitcoin does from this point till that point, we may see a bit of a retrace in Bitcoin. If you've made money on shorts, happy days. You'll then be in a position to say, okay, now I've got enough capital where I can start considering buying up Bitcoin. So then if you have yourself, for example, $10,000, all right, and you want to start buying Bitcoin right now, you only commit 10% of your capital. And if that's too risky, slash that 10% by 50%. So instead of $1,000, you use $500 and then you start scaling in. Your goal is to get 10K's worth. So then if you do only commit $500 at a time, all right, that $500 could take you to this journey right here. And then by the time it starts moving up, you would have committed at least, on the assumption at this point, you would commit at least half of your capital investment, and you would be in a good position because you would then see price moving up. You'll be in a good position. Why? Because then if price does move up into your favor after you've been DCAing in Bitcoin, you can now start taking profits and using the profits to add to the position and leave the remaining 5K that you had on the side as safety net. So it's really down to your preference of trading, ladies and gentlemen. All right? Finding Bitcoin's bottom is not how even the greatest traders out there, some of the great successful stock traders out there said it. They never made their career bottom fishing. All right? It's just that everyone is compelled to believe that they need to find the bottom. You do not need to find the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. Look at where we are in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at 20K. First thing that you want to see Bitcoin do on the daily is at least get above the 50 EMA. Once it comes back into the 50 EMA, it breaks away from that point, which would then lead and naturally lead the 200 EMA to cross back down below the 800. And then the 50 EMA to cross back up above it. The 800 EMA to cross between both those moving averages. And then we have this like move right like this, where momentum will start moving price up and then retraces back into the 5 and 13 EMA. We'll then see Bitcoin move up. Trust me, if Bitcoin moves up from this point and goes to the 50 EMA, don't worry, you haven't missed anything, because they will rise, they will retrace, they will rise and they will retrace. Go back in time and just look at what they did. Okay, look at this. You've got Bitcoin's move up, rise, retrace. They continued up for a little bit, but this is on the daily, ladies and gentlemen. Go on to the 1 hour time frame. You can see how the deviations from the 50 EMA work. You'll have plenty of opportunities to get in. Even on this right here, when we were running for shorts, Bitcoin drops down. Oh, I missed out on that big move to the downside. Guess what? It comes back up again and then aggressively goes down. Remember, the faster the move against the normal trend is the false move. Yeah? If everything's been dropping down and you see a fast move back up, it's a trap to get people to believe that, okay, this is the bottom, we're going to start moving back up again, we've sold off enough now. All the MACDs are saying that now price is oversold, it's oversold, we need to see price moving back up now. And these MACD traders, these RSI traders, they all get involved in this point. Social media traders, they're all long at this point right here. Price breaks the 800 EMA, stop hunt rise, collapse to the downside, commitment achieved. Okay? So it's really important that you keep aligned with what's going on in the charts before you consider it in social media, all right? Whatever someone says, even what I say, ladies and gentlemen, the chart is the almanac, all right? The chart will give you everything that you need. Nothing else. Whatever you see across the board, they are designed to make you do something, because this business model does not operate if you don't invest in it. Remember, Mr. Market Maker, he's the liquidity provider. You don't believe that? Just Google it. In the description of this video, ladies and gentlemen, there is a market maker algorithm paper that was written by someone. You can download it, you can read it for yourself, and it will explain to you what the algorithm's objective is, what the market maker's sole purpose is. His goal is to ensure a smooth transactions happen for the committed traders. You're not going to go and use... Okay, so how many of you use Binance? How many of you use Bybit? All right? You're using these platforms. How many of you are using FTX? When you start seeing new exchanges coming about, all right, you're not going to really invest in them until they've got the liquidity and the volume there, all right, because you're not going to get much activity, are you? It's going to be pretty laggard, and you're going to be thinking, oh, this is terrible. I need to go to Binance where I've got smooth price action. Remember, the faster the candles print, the more liquidity is present. And a word as well, ladies and gentlemen. If you are using the hybrid system, and if you haven't downloaded it, pinned to the top of the chat is the access to download it free of charge. You can get it free of charge and follow the streams and get yourself into the Discord so you can just join the Pattern Watchers community on how to understand how to use it, okay? But if you are seeing vector candles on one exchange, when you're using Binance, for example, you see a vector candle here, and then you go and use Coinbase and you don't see the vector candle, always choose the exchange that has the most volume. All right, because if Coinbase doesn't show a vector candle, it doesn't mean that Binance's vector candle itself is fake. No, it means that the transaction of price at that point was more. Okay, so they transacted more. They had more information in this candlestick right here. If Coinbase doesn't show it, it means that they didn't have that same amount of transactions, which could also give you a false reading. You might look at that as a grey candlestick and think, okay, it's just a normal candlestick. But to the person next to you who's trading on Binance, he sees it as a green vector candle, and he's going to run shorts when you're going to run longs because you don't think it's a green vector. So please be mindful of that, ladies and gentlemen. Gino, is it better to use MT4? Listen, MT4, all right, is where it all began, ladies and gentlemen. That's where it all began for me, and that's when I started breaking down Bitcoin and Ethereum on MT4. If you haven't downloaded MT4, it's all in the description of the video. You can get all of that, and it's on the website. It's free to download, okay? But MT4 is so much more superior to trade from, especially Forex, because of the fees. You are trading contracts for difference, all right? With Binance, with Bybit, you have fees to open and close trades, all right, depending on your leverage. The same applies in MT4, but the best thing about MT4 is the speed of the way you can open trades, and the cost of it is so minimal, all right? I've got a couple of videos in the channel. I'll actually do a video for you guys to show you the differences when you're trading on Binance and Bybit. Well, I can't trade off Binance, but I'll show you the differences on exchanges in another video for you, okay? So guys, I hope this makes sense to you, all right? Tomorrow, remember, we are going into a bank holiday tomorrow, all right? So the US will not be open, so trading might be a little bit light during the New York session. That means the UK market has free roam until 5 o'clock GMT UK time. Remember that. All right, so just be careful. There may be a few stop hunts in the US session because of how light the volume is, okay? The best time for you to trade will be Tuesday, when all the markets are open, all right? And we know when the US session has a day off, they get to business when it opens, and it's the best time to be actually trading. And that's when I'll be doing the New York live stream, 2 p.m. GMT UK time, so make sure you are there, ladies and gentlemen. All right, if you are new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe. Sunday nights are a little bit chilled out. We just break down the levels, talk about a couple of other concepts. But if you are new, make sure you join the Pattern Watchers. I got nothing but love and respect for you all. Happy Father's Day to all the Pattern Watcher fathers out there. Have yourselves a great evening, and I will check in with you all with a video tomorrow. Take care of yourselves, guys. Mad love. Peace.